On this episode, we'll discuss how churches can reach and keep first-time guests. Well, hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast, the show that is dedicated to inspiring leaders and empowering healthy churches. I'm Kendall Connor, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jess Moore. How are you today, Jess? I'm excited for this conversation.
Yeah, me too. I'm super excited. This is a very helpful topic for every church.
Yes, absolutely. I'm super pumped for it. Our topic is, it kind of goes by different names for different churches. Some churches would call it a guest or a first-time guest. Some would call it a visitor or maybe a newcomer, or maybe just they'll say they're new here.
Yeah.
It goes by different names, but
Right. Regardless of what you call them, we know that every church would like more visitors, right? And
Yes,
would like
absolutely.
to turn them into engaged members. So this is, again, applicable to every church.
I think so too. And to discuss this with us, to guide us through it, we have an incredible guest, actually a returning guest that's going to be with us. Today on the podcast, we're joined by Greg Atkinson. And for all of our listeners out there, if you have not connected with him before, let me tell you all about him. Greg Atkinson is an entrepreneur. He is a best-selling author, and he is an international speaker with 30 years of experience in organizational leadership. Greg has worked with nonprofits. He's worked with businesses, churches of all stages and sizes, including teaching and training some of the largest and fastest growing churches in the U.S. He's written several books that are relevant to our topic today, including there's one that's called The Secret Power of Kindness, which I think is really cool. He also has one that's all about the secrets of a secret shopper. So going into churches and kind of seeing how things are running. I can't wait to hear more about that. And he also has one that is all about the hospitality ministry, a handbook that is for volunteers. You can tell this is going to be a great conversation as we dive into this, all about how we can reach, how you can keep. That's probably the more important part of this, right? Those first-time guests. So I'm excited to jump into it. I do want to encourage all of our listeners out there today, Jess, for them to hit that follow button. We want you subscribed wherever you're enjoying our show. We want to make sure that you stay in the loop because we're continually releasing new resources, more conversations, and all of these things. That's the best way to make sure you don't miss a thing. So are you ready to jump in, Jess?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, without further ado, let's welcome back to the show, Greg Atkinson. How are you today, Greg?
Hey, guys, I'm doing well.
I'm so glad that you made time to chat with us today.
Yeah, this is the first podcast of 2026.
Wow, what an honor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me too.
That's this is definitely the first one that we've recorded in 2026. I love that. Now, I was just thinking about, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're like me and you're located in North Carolina. Is that right?
That's right. I'm in North Charlotte area.
I love that. Next time, listen, this is podcast number 2. Next episode, we're just going to have to get together in person, I think. What do you think?
That sounds good.
I love that.
That's awesome. Well, for all of our listeners out there, we read that public bio, but at the same time, we know that there's some things that normally go beyond that public bio. Can you tell us something that all your family and friends would know about you?
And 2 things come to mind that are not in my public bio. One, those that know me know I love being a dad. I have 3 adult kids. My oldest daughter is headed to France today, so that's big prayer request. She's the second of my kids to go overseas without me.
Wow.
So your heart, your heart is traveling today, right?
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah.
Wow.
She leaves this afternoon. And then I am starting a new company called the Kindness Group, which is based out of my kindness book, where I go into organizations and help them create kindness in the workplace. So that's something new that people wouldn't know.
I love that.
I love that. Yeah, that is very cool. And I just love the overall theme of kindness. And, that can be a topic that sometimes people just, they just look right beyond, but it's like so important in every area. Well, whether would you say in the workplace, but also in our churches, definitely when it comes to greeting these first-time guests and visitors to our church, right?
Yeah, it was a church that first gave me the idea. I was consulting with Eagle Brook Church in Minneapolis and speaking with one of their executive team leaders. And he said, Greg, you go in on the weekends and do the secret shopper guest service consultation. What if you stayed throughout the week? What if you met with staff during the week and talked about creating more
Mm.
hospitable, kinder uh, organizations? And so that's why I use the term organization, because it may be a church or a nonprofit or a
Yeah.
business. Everybody needs kindness in the workplace.
Boy, is
That's
that
so good.
true. Do you consult social media as well? Because we need a little bit of kindness there too.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well, I love that, Greg. I know that you have spent years visiting these churches and observing guest experiences and helping these leaders see what they're often missing. I'm just kind of curious, what first sparked that passion for helping churches to think differently about how they're treating people, how they're reaching and keeping their guests?
Yeah, I am going into my 21st year of consulting. I started in March of 2005. And I got into the secret shopper part of consulting, of going in and evaluating a weekend experience in 2009. It was actually my boss. I was coaching church planners on staff at ARC, Association of Related Churches, and was with my boss, Billy Hornsby, who I dedicated my secret shopper book to. We were in a hotel lobby, and he looked at me and he said, Greg, you need to be a secret shopper. And then he followed it up with, and I'm going to write you your first endorsement. And then
Ooh,
he
cool.
blasted it out to the whole ARC database and newsletter and
Yeah,
said,
wow.
hire Greg. And then so that kind of took it to a whole new level. But he saw something in me and believed in me. And that's how I got going.
That's incredible, and I always love hearing those stories of, how folks got started in different things, and more importantly, what I heard in that is someone taking a chance on you, someone investing in you, someone believing in you, and that's always a good reminder, especially starting a new year, for all of our listeners out there as you're leading in your churches, who is that person that you can believe in that will be the
Mm.
next someone like a Greg who is going on to do, amazing things. So that's incredible. Tell us a little bit about I want to hear more about this secret shopping experience. So what does that look like for when you go into a church?
Yeah, this is an experience that I love, and I love the reaction when I complete it and I hear feedback from the church. I've done this
Mm.
um, with over 200 churches in America.
Wow.
Have worked
Wow.
with every size from a church plant to second largest church in America. So all gamuts, and
Yeah.
primarily work with large churches. But if a small church or a church plant calls me up and says, "Hey, can you come in?" I always try to work with them. But it's an experience where I would arrive on a Saturday and evaluate everything they do on a weekend, if they have a Saturday night service or if everything's on Sunday. Uh, and then after I finish evaluating those services, um, I will go to lunch with them on Sunday afternoon, let them kind of pick my brain, and then I come home and work on an actual report. It's a very detailed, comprehensive report. My
Yeah.
last one was
Wow.
100 pages. And so
Wow.
Wow.
I'll come home and put it into a report. Then we set up a Zoom meeting, and it's kind of like this, where we're seeing each other on video. They're in a conference room with their senior leadership around the table, and I'm here in my office, and I go through the report with them and uh, point out what I observed and what stood out to me, and then
Yeah.
again, they can ask me questions and follow up, and then after that, we'll put together a plan to next steps and ways to improve things that I may have noticed.
Yeah. Wow.
So I have a question. Obviously, they know that you will be attending at some point because they have requested your services, but do they know the weekend?
Good question. Usually, it's the executive pastor and nobody else. So the executive
Okay.
Wow.
pastor is involved in the weekend He's not leading worship. He's not preaching.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
He's not greeting people. And so he
Yeah.
arranges my travel, and we coordinate the date
Very
together.
cool.
But I have walked up so many times on a Sunday morning to a senior pastor, shook his hand and said, "Surprise, I'm here." Like they don't know I'm coming. The worship leader doesn't
Yeah.
know. The first impressions team, guest services, they don't know. So it's a total surprise to everybody, but
Good.
like
I
one
love
Yeah.
person.
that.
Yeah. So
Very
Okay.
cool. I love.
yeah, I was going to say it. Sometimes it's the senior pastor who reaches out, and he's the only one, or executive pastor, and sometimes, very rarely, it's the guest services leader, somebody who's the first impressions director, and they want
Right.
to kind of surprise their team. But
Yeah.
by and large, it's the senior leadership.
Such a
That's
cool
awesome.
concept. Yeah, I'm getting like undercover boss vibes, right? Y'all
Mhm.
seen that show before?
Mhm. Yep.
We're gonna have to blur
Exactly.
your face on here, Greg, so that folks won't give it away. But
Recognize you.
yeah, I think it's such a cool concept, and I imagine it's a big help when it comes to things like that guest experience and the greeters and things when they come in. I'm just kind of curious, when it comes for churches, getting that guest experience right, getting the follow up right, everything that is involved with meeting and making a good experience for those first time guests. Why is that so essential? Like, why is that so important for churches?
Yeah, my heart, and a lot of pastors and church leaders have a heart for discipleship. They want to see people grow in their faith.
Sure.
But if they come to your church and they never come back, you can't walk alongside them. You can't disciple them.
Exactly.
Mm,
Or maybe it's a first touch where you have the opportunity to lead them to Christ. But if they're one and done, you don't get to do that. And so I
yes.
work on the first impression, mixed with talks about assimilation, getting people assimilated
Mm.
into the body. But we all want to see people grow in their faith, mature in their faith, take their next step. A lot of times, I use the language of next step. But if they come and they don't return, then we don't get that opportunity. And so,
Mm.
what I love is when a church reaches out to me and says, "Hey, we'd like to bring you in to evaluate our weekend to do a secret shopper." I know they're interested in this. I know that not only do they want to grow, and I don't mean grow for numbers' sake, but to reach more in their community. They want
Sure.
they want to see more and more people in their community come to Christ and grow in their faith, and that excites me because I know they take it seriously. Because there's an investment. They're flying me to wherever they may be in the country and putting me in a
Yeah.
hotel, and I know that they take it seriously. And so,
Yeah.
but it's all about evangelism and discipleship, and seeing people grow in their walk with Christ, and so that's what it's all about.
That's such a good point. And, kind of as a follow up to that question is what would you say is really at stake when churches fail to make a good first impression with these guests?
Um, you know the phrase "you never get a second chance to make a first impression."
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can truly, truly turn people off. You can be one and done. They come and they never come back. Not only that, they may never go to church again. They may have
Mm,
Exactly.
such a bad
mm,
experience that they never walk through the door of a church again. And
Right.
wow.
so we have to take that very seriously. I know my buddy Nelson Searcy talks about the principle of spiritual readiness. God's going to
Mm,
send people our way. Are we ready for them and ready and
Mm.
prepared to greet them and to welcome them and to make them feel at home?
Mm. What a challenge in
whew.
every aspect of life. Like,
Yes.
I always kind of lean into motherhood. That's a season I'm in, and probably doesn't relate to anyone listening. But really, with my kids, like my ministry primarily right now is in my home and with my kids. Am I spiritually ready for those conversations to come, for my kids to get in the car at pickup and, be able to take on whatever their day looked like? So that is convicting. It's good.
It is, and there's a lot of weight to your statement, Greg, and really it's a good reminder. I'm thinking for our guest experience team at our own church, our folks that are greeting guests and welcoming people. You have to be ready when those visitors are ready, right? It may not be your best day as a volunteer or
Mhm.
your best day as a leader. You may have had a long week or things like that, but when someone's showing up for the first time, yeah, we've got to be ready to welcome them. There's so much weight with that.
There
Wow.
are churches that I've worked with that have big signs up in their backstage or their green room or where their volunteers check in that say,
Yeah.
uh, today is somebody's first Sunday. And that's
Mm.
something that when we huddle up in the morning,
Yeah.
hopefully volunteers are doing some type of huddle and getting focused and being reminded about their why. Um, that we realize that today, this Sunday, is somebody's first Sunday. At one time I pastored a small church of um, 200 people, and sometimes we would get 6 guests. We knew that because we
Mm.
gave books to them.
Sure.
But it doesn't matter really what size church you are. You're going to have somebody come in to check you out, somebody who, whether they realize it or not, they're making a spiritual decision. They're walking through the doors of
Mhm.
the church, maybe for the first time. And whether they realize it or not, that's a spiritual decision. God is drawing them, and we have to be ready and minister in a very real and tangible way to be that front line, the first faces they see.
Yeah.
The famous quote: "People make up their mind in the first 7 minutes whether or not they're going to return." And long before the sermon, that pastor may have worked on a sermon all week long, but they've already made up their mind in 7 minutes during
So
the second
true.
song whether or not they're coming back. So we have to take it seriously.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to ask you, Greg, and forgive me, I didn't put this in the questions that we provided, but I'm sure you've seen with all the different ministries that you visited. What would you say? What does it look like for a church to take this seriously? So, if someone's coming for the very first time, what are some simple things that just right out of the gate, and maybe even in that first 7 minutes, that would be a good way to welcome someone who's there for the first time?
Yeah, I think a couple things that come to mind is warmth, that we are excited to see people that we've not seen before, somebody that stands out to us as a guest or a visitor, that we are warm and welcoming. We don't want to ask their name, but we just want to say, hey, my name's Greg. I haven't seen you before. How long have you been attending? Would be the way to phrase it.
Mhm.
Love that.
Not is
Mhm,
it your
mhm,
first
mhm.
time? 'Cause they may
Right.
have been coming for 7 years, but we
Yes.
would just say, um,
Right.
"How long have you been attending First whatever the church is?" And they may
Yeah.
say, "Oh, this is my first time." "Oh, great. Can I show you around?" But
Yeah.
just being warm, welcoming, and also, intentional, that we
Mm.
intentionally design the experience to make sense to a newcomer. And,
Mm,
a big way we do that is wayfinding signage, signage that shows where the kids check in is. You mentioned
Yes.
motherhood at this season of life. Those parents that come with small kids, they're nervous. They want to know that your children's
yeah.
ministry is prepared, that it's safe, and that their kid is going to be taken care of properly. That's a big part of
Exactly.
first impressions, but it has to do with children's ministry, and that they are um, ready for guests to come, ready for parents to check off and to check in their,
Mm.
and that they are not a bottleneck. A first time
Right.
guest has to fill out information on their kids, and we want that to be as streamlined as possible. If you can do it online before they come, that's great. Some
Yes.
Mhm.
will offer um, a connection card, or kids check in online, so when they arrive,
Yes.
you're ready to rock. And I think restrooms is a big deal. Not only cleaning them, but
Mm.
showing where they are. Some kind of
Yeah.
sign, there's restrooms this way. kids check in this way, auditorium
Mhm.
this way. I have been
Yeah.
to churches that are so large I couldn't find the auditorium. And I mentioned on another podcast, I'm a professional at getting lost. I will go to churches and not know where anything is. And
Yeah.
so finding people that are there to help in addition to signage is a big deal for a guest.
Mm.
So many good nuggets of wisdom. My favorite one that you said is never be that one that says if you're a volunteer or a leader at your church, never be the one that says, like, is this your first time here? Because you do run that risk of, oh no, this we've been coming for such and such, for months.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I love that phrase, and we use that at our church too. How long have you been coming to it? To our
Mhm.
church. And
Yeah.
yeah, you love the smile that pops up when they get to say, yeah, this is actually our first time.
Mm.
Yeah.
So much good wisdom for people coming in. I love that you mentioned having them have the ability to register, whether that's a form or something that's tied in with your software or your kids check in. I feel like that's just such a good practical thing to have them do, because it does take so much time. And if you've got all your kids with you, you mentioned that you're a dad. I'm a dad as well. Jess has kids. Coming in with your whole crew on a Sunday morning to a first time somewhere and having to type something in on a tablet. It's like, if you can do that before when the kids aren't running around, that's just such a huge time saver.
Mhm.
I feel like it takes so much stress away. And so I love that. I love that recommendation. Well,
I
we
have
talked a lot of,
watched
yeah,
I have watched parents that are late to the service because it took so long to check in, and they are
Mm.
yeah,
visibly upset. They are so upset
Yeah.
that they are having to fill out this form, and their kids just want to go to class and they just want to drop them off. They may not think of
yeah,
kids ministry the way we think of it. They may think of
sure,
it
Right.
as babysitting, and not that we have
Mm.
thought out, well planned, intentional children's ministry. They are just thinking, can I just drop my kid off? I'm trying to get to the service.
Right.
Then they go
that's
into the
it.
service 5, 10 minutes late, and they're upset. And again, they're making up their mind in
Yeah,
that first 7 minutes. Am I coming back?
Mm. Yeah, and real quick call out. These things that you just listed, Greg, they're not particularly hard. They
Right.
mm,
just take an incredible amount of intentionality, right? Like, to your point, your entire job, the secret shopper job, is to think like a new guest, because in that church, you are a new guest. And so just having eyes to see, like, if I have never been here before, or invite someone who is from another church and say, hey, can you help us out? Come visit us for a weekend. Or ask Greg. I'm sure he would love to do that for you. But the other thing I wanted to call out too, and this is just like a side note slightly, but in the way of typing on a tablet, you are not kidding, Kindle. It is so annoying. So just a quick thought, like, can we slap a QR code on there? Like, hey, is this your first
mm,
time? Easier to do this on your phone. And then they're not taking up that tablet and feeling like there's a long line behind them.
that's a good tip.
I don't know, just
Yeah,
had a little thought there with I know with ministry brands platforms we're using forms. Every form generates a QR code. So in my mind I'm like, that's an easy thing, easy fix. We could just throw it on a phone and some things
huge.
might even auto populate. Like, how cool would
Yeah,
that be?
yeah.
I said
That's I
that
feel like
during
that's a good little
COVID.
hack.
You know, QR codes are back, and
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
continue
they're
to
back,
serve
baby, and they
glory.
stayed. Yeah. It's great.
That's good wisdom. Greg, I think about a lot of times when we're thinking about having guests or making a good first impression, we think about everything leading into that. But sometimes um, churches they struggle on the follow up side, and I'm
Mm.
just kind of curious. If a church is saying, "Hey, we're getting visitors," but they're just not sticking, where would you say that a church could begin if they want to start reaching and keeping those guests a little bit longer, more than that first visit?
Yeah, unfortunately, every church has a back door. A lot of churches don't have problems getting first time guests; they have problems keeping them. And we as pastors, church leaders, those who are high capacity volunteers that want to make a difference, we want to close the back door. And so for a lot
Mm.
of it, it's touch points. Um, if I go and I meet 5 to 7 people, and I learn their name, and they uh, welcome me, and also are there saying goodbye when I leave, there's a good chance I'm going to come back. And depending on your size church, and in smaller churches, they are able to do stuff that maybe a large church couldn't do. I've
Yeah.
seen smaller churches where they meet uh, a a host in the auditorium who says,
Sure.
hey, can I take you to lunch afterwards? I would love to take you and your family to lunch. And there are some churches where um, they give you a gift. You fill out some type of connection card and you get some type of gift, and then you can follow up
Mm.
with a phone call or an email or a handwritten letter. I used to do handwritten notes, and I know Nelson Searcy and those guys. They've done that for years. But just following up with a nice note saying, "Hey, this is Greg. It was so nice meeting you on Sunday. I hope to see you again." And it's that touch point. And one thing that I'm passionate about in this age of AI is the human touch. That they
Wow.
Mm.
have touch points from humans. Um, AI is a big talk that gets a lot of buzz and a lot of attention. But when somebody visits your church, they want to meet a real human being, and they want
So
to
much, yes.
uh, get, because at the end of the day, it's all about relationships. It's
Mm.
people and relationships. And so if I am a greeter or an usher and I say, "Hey, my name's Greg, how long have you been coming?" And they say, "Oh, actually, this is my first time." "Oh, great. Do you have any questions?" And then they get a handwritten note from Greg, a card in the mail that says,
Huge.
"It was so great meeting you." Um, that's what's needed these days, is these human touch
Mm.
points that allow us to close that back door, because they met somebody. And it's intimidating to go to a new church, whether it's 100 people or 10,000 people, and not know people. And so when
Yes.
I come back and I make that spiritual decision to come for a second time, and it's a big deal to get a second time guest. I used to
Yeah.
track them as a pastor. I wanted to know if they were a second time guest. But when they come back for that second time, they may see Greg and Bob and Cindy and people that they met that first time at kids check in. If Cindy is
Right.
the kids pastor and she was there welcoming them and asking them if they had any questions and showing them their kids to their room, those human touch points, they're a big deal, and they help us close the
Yeah.
back door.
I love that.
I feel like human man in an age of AI, providing that human touch is so important. Just a small
Mm.
little tip. It's one thing that we do. One of my favorite things that we do at our church. You mentioned having different people introducing themselves, talking to these guests when they come. One little hack that we do is whenever someone identifies as a visitor or as a first time guest, they get a card that seems like has just general welcome from the pastor. It gets general information about the church. But the thing that's interesting about this card is it's kind of massive. It's a larger card. It's a can't miss size of a card. And so as they are walking around, because inevitably that's what they do, you hand it to them, and as you're walking around, as our team, our volunteers, as well as just folks that have been around our church for a long time, when they see that card, they know, hey, I need to go out of my way. I need to stop what I'm
Mm.
doing, stop talking to the person that I see every single week, and I need to go and I need to introduce myself. And by the end of the day, by the end of that Sunday, that first time guest may have met 5 or 6 people and had a good conversation. And I feel like it just talk about being human. It goes so far when they feel like they know somebody in the church, right?
I
That's
used to
cool,
teach
Kendall.
that. There's a lot of churches I know that have implemented that. Where I started thinking about it is the first time I took my kids to Disney World. It was my daughter Katie's birthday, and they gave her a
Wow.
pin that said "Happy
Yeah.
Yeah.
Birthday, Katie." And everywhere we went throughout the park that day, people would say "Happy Birthday, Katie! Happy Birthday, Katie!"
I
All
love
the
that.
Mm.
cast would say "Happy Birthday, Katie!" And it was something. And Katie would be surprised each time, like, "How did they know it was my
Right.
birthday?"
Oh,
And
wow.
forgetting
Yeah.
she's wearing the pin.
So good.
But yeah, when you have a welcome packet that sticks up, that you can't hide in a Bible, that
That's
sticks
right.
up and you know that they are a guest, then your team that hopefully is trained can can make sure that they feel welcome. That's always great.
I love that. That's brilliant. I wanted to add quickly too, you mentioned that some churches are smaller so they can have a little bit more ability to be intentional. I think that, you know, a lot of CRM or church management softwares at this point allow you to have some workflows built in with new members, right? And so that got me thinking about like, how can we leverage some piece of this intentional automation um, and help it still be a personal touch point. And, within our software, we have something called interactions. And so you can set up these interactions. And so if someone has been logged in the system as a new person, and I'm thinking of, churches that are up larger scale where it's like, it is difficult to capture and be intentional with and make sure that everybody that's a first time guest gets a handwritten note, except that it doesn't have to be that hard, because with these with these interactions, you can set this up and you can assign it to a specific person, and then you can make the task whatever you want it to be. It can
Call
be a
them, text
handwritten
them.
note. It can be a phone call. It can
Right.
be a scheduled lunch. Like literally, sky's the limit on that. But what that does is it helps your team remember. It's part of your process. And so it still can be super, super intentional.
Yep.
It's just the automation piece for your operations is simplified, right? So just a thought
Huge.
on applying, software still has a place in this if you want to use it
Absolutely.
well, but you gotta be intentional with those touch points. I love that. It's a good combination.
When I was a pastor, I did that big time. I had a system and I worked the system. I was at a smaller church that grew from like 125 people to over 500. And we
Mm.
got to a season in our church where we were baptizing 2 people a week, every single
Wow.
week. And it was
Praise
because
Amazing.
Jesus.
I was looking at next steps and getting
Mm.
people from first visit to second visit to um, breakfast, coffee, lunch. I would, as a pastor, I had a handwritten note that I wrote, and I would dare them to let me buy them a cup of coffee or take them um, to lunch. And I was trying to be that touch point of, hey,
Yeah.
I would love to buy you coffee. I dare you to take me up on it, and it worked. And we had a system. We worked the system, and software was a huge part of that, moving from process to process to process, just all throughout the thing. It was
Mm.
big part of how God used my time there was being able to track people.
Love that.
And
And
so
Love
I'll
to hear
just
cool.
it.
say that all starts with gathering their information. If you miss the
Yeah.
You're
opportunity
right.
to get their email, their phone number, uh, then
Mhm.
you don't get to track through a software system. Like you've got to
Great
have
point.
a connection card, a QR code, a texting
Yes.
solution.
Yeah.
You gotta have something that allows you to get back in touch with them so that you can invite them
Mm.
back and say, "Hey, we'd love to see you again."
That's right.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, and I love the ideas that you shared. I love the idea of saying, of a pastor being willing to say, "Hey, I'm open to coffee if you wanna get together." Some other ideas I was sitting there thinking about is I've seen one right after their service, they would do something called, pizza with the pastor or something like that, and each week they would have,
Cute.
just they could come and stay, or maybe they do that once a month. And,
Yeah.
just talking with the church not too long ago, they did something that was like a 7-minute welcome party or after party or something like that, where you could come and they would have several of their leaders huddled in this
Wrote
one
about
room,
that
and
in
you
my
could come
book.
and meet them. You
It's
did? Oh,
yeah, it's in the Secret
all
Shop
all of
book.
all of the ideas we do are probably, just along the way from you at some point, Greg.
Yeah. Well, the Secret Shopper book came out in 2011, so there's been a lot of stuff that's been implemented, but I talk about after the service having the meet the pastors or the
Yeah.
VIP party or the pizza with the pastor, all the get-togethers so that, they want it's just like, it all starts with the website and that first impression, the true first impression of somebody looking at your website.
Yeah.
One of the most visited pages on the website is the staff page. They want to know what the
Yes.
leadership looks
Mhm.
like. who was leading this church. So
Yeah.
when you run like a heat map, one of the most clicked on pages is your staff page or meet the
Yep.
team page. And so if they have that
Mm.
opportunity after the service to meet the team, meet the pastor, it's a big deal.
Yes. I love that.
Such good insight, like
Yes,
correlating
absolutely.
the website to their actual experience. Brilliant.
Greg, when you look at churches that are consistently doing a great job reaching and keeping these guests, what would you say sets them apart? What are they doing right to make all of this happen?
Intentionality. They have thought through the Sunday
Mhm.
experience from beginning to end and have made preparations. I used to always say, company is coming. Are you prepared? If
Mm.
I was having somebody over to my house, we would vacuum, we would
Yes.
light a candle, we would put away the laundry. We would prepare, and so Sunday's coming, and people come every week. Every Sunday is somebody's
Mm.
first Sunday, and so the intentionality of we're gonna make sure the parking lot looks good and the landscaping looks good and the grass
That's
is
right.
cut and the building is maintained well and the signage is there and we are going to be intentional about gathering information and making a connection, that human connection. Years ago,
Mm.
I used to
Yeah.
teach. When I trained volunteers, I would always start with the why. Why do we do this? Now, in
Mhm.
in modern days, people that want to know what Greg is up to in 2025 and 2026 and beyond, start with the who. Start with the who. And so,
Mm.
who are we going to be focused on? Who are we welcoming? And then get into the why.
Wow.
Why is this important? Why do we want them to come back so that we can walk alongside them, help them take their next step and see them discipled? But we've got to start with the who. People that are coming for the first time, they're scared, they're anxious, they're skeptical. They don't know if we're a cult. They don't
Mm.
know. They don't know if we just want their money. They're skeptical
Right.
and
Mhm.
they're anxious. And if we can put that anxiety to ease, if we can be warm and welcoming, there's a good chance that they could actually focus on what God is up to. That pastor that worked all week on that sermon, it would be great if they could hear it. But if they're looking around and they're anxious and they're skeptical and they're worried about their kid who they dropped off in a really
Yeah.
scary looking children's ministry that's not safe and not prepared, they're not listening to the sermon. But if
Right.
That's
we
right.
can
Right.
remove obstacles and get all of that out of the way, so that they could actually focus on the living God and what God is trying to say through the communicator, then great things could happen. But we've got to do our
Mhm.
part in clearing obstacles and making a way for them to experience all that God is up to.
So much good wisdom just packed into everything you just said, Greg. I love it, and I love the heart behind it, and I also love that you said start with the who. I think that
Mhm.
may be the first time that I've heard that, and I feel like that is a paradigm shift. That is a change that these leaders who are listening today could bring into this new year as we're thinking about the people that we want to reach. So such valuable
Mm.
wisdom.
Yeah.
I know when it comes to the digital side of reaching and keeping these first time guests. We talk a lot about tools and things like that, but what would you say that a church can focus on right now that can make a big difference when it comes to that digital side?
Yeah, as we mentioned a second ago, their software is a huge part. However you track guests, when a connection card comes in or somebody fills out a QR code, when they do that, what software does it go into, and how do we follow up and make sure that they get some type of contact,
Yes.
whether it's an email, a card, a note, a phone call, some type of human contact. Um, and I tell you again, if I could get anything across to leaders today that are listening, in an age of AI, and we all know there's a lot of people in the church space pumping and promoting AI, but in that age, if you can follow up with human contact,
Mm.
not AI,
Mm,
a phone call, a handwritten note by an actual person, that cuts through the noise. There's
Yes.
so much um, computer generated stuff going out that it becomes noise. And when a human
Mhm.
contact breaks through, God can do amazing stuff. I remember as a pastor visiting a woman, it was an older lady who had visited our church, and I came to visit her at her house, and she had sitting on her desk my handwritten note that I'd sent her, because that kind of stuff sticks
Sweet.
out, and you don't really
Yeah.
get handwritten notes anymore. And so she had it sitting on her desk and had held on to it. And so if you can cut through the noise with a human interaction, thinking of the who, you should have great success in what you're trying to accomplish as a church.
So good.
Yeah. Great wisdom there. Well, you know this from being on our podcast before. One of our big themes is healthy churches and healthy leaders. And I'm just kind of curious to hear, your fresh perspective on this. What would you say is one essential component of a healthy church these days?
Um, some type of discipleship, and I would also uh, be in favor of, in addition, some type of mentoring situation where
Mm.
uh, newcomers, new Christians are being
Yeah.
mentored and discipled by seasoned, uh, spiritually mature Christians. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be the pastor each and every time, but to have, whether you're in Sunday school or small groups, some type of, or home group, some type of way for people to ask questions
Mm.
and grow in their faith.
That's really good. And I would even say to all of our leaders out there, you will be surprised as you're mentoring others that are coming up, emerging leaders. You'll be amazed at how it can even it will fuel and remind you of why you got started in this to begin with. I
Mm.
think the same
Mhm.
thing applies to our volunteers as they're welcoming new guests into your church. It can inspire you. It can remind you of why this matters, why this is so important, and it just it's good for both parties, right? So I
Mhm.
love that reminder for our leaders. I also love that as a reminder for our volunteers, right? Is every Sunday somebody's first Sunday, or that every Sunday somebody's day. And man, so much good wisdom in this episode today, Greg. I'm thankful. One of the ways that we love to end things is to do a final five rapid fire round. Are you up for the challenge to go through the
Sure,
this
let's
rapid
do it.
fire round of questions?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be taking you through those. What is one book on this subject or similar that you'd recommend to church leaders?
Yeah. Well, I have to do a duel because it I want to plug my own book first because
Yes,
For sure,
I
yes,
wrote
as
absolutely
you
it.
do.
should.
I I wrote Secrets of a Secret Shopper because I knew not every church could afford to bring me in to do a secret shopper.
Mm,
Mm.
So I went to Rayner Publishing, Tom Rayner and his sons, and I said, I want to write a book that tells them everything that I do so that they can do it themselves. So they can pay
mm.
$10
That's
for a
awesome.
book instead of what my fee would be. So if you're listening to this and you think, wow, we'd love to have Greg in, but we couldn't afford it, get the book, download it on Kindle for like
Mm.
$2.99. Like I wrote the book so that you can do it and you don't have to fly me
Yeah.
out. So I want to plug that. And then second, mentioning Tom Rayner, he wrote a great book, Becoming a Welcoming Church, that I think has a lot of
Mm.
solid practical wisdom in it.
Those are
Amazing.
both like right on the right on the head. Perfect. Okay, last thing that you listen to on Spotify or Apple Music or
Uh,
wherever you stream music.
well, this morning, every morning, I get my day going listening to Forrest Frank. Uh, his music is so positive and so
Yeah,
Yeah.
happy.
for sure.
I'll start my day with like a Force Frank Essentials on Apple Music, and that's what gets me going. So that's all I've listened to today.
There's
I
one
love
that's
it.
like it's pretty new. It's probably came out a couple months ago. It's like thankful. I feel like that's
Yeah.
like my go-to.
Very
my
good.
go-to Forrest Frank song. That's such a good one.
And, so
It is a
many
good one.
kids listen to him. He's so positive, and
Yes.
so many young
Mhm.
children are listening to his music. I think it's great.
I do
Love
too.
that.
He is great. Okay, favorite piece of technology or software right now?
I use ChatGPT. Uh, well, I have to use it for some of the stuff. I'm in an MBA program, so some of the stuff I do with school
Mm,
is
yeah.
on that. But it's just been very helpful for me to organize my thoughts. I will give it things I want to do or write, and then it gives me an outline, and so it's very
Mm,
helpful
Super
organization.
helpful.
it is helpful. Okay, quote or advice that has stuck with you over the years?
Yeah, when I first started out in ministry 32 years ago, 1994, um,
Amazing.
I invited my uncle, who was a worship pastor, to my church to see what he thought of me leading music. I was a worship pastor, and he was a worship pastor since the '70s, so I wanted to hear what he thought. And I was running around trying to make sure everything was perfect. And I was 18. Um,
Mm,
I'm 50 now, but he pushing 50 in his 40s was there, and he said, "Walk slowly through the pews," and it stuck with me my whole
mm,
career to make that eye contact, to be engaging
yeah.
with people, and to walk slowly through the pews. He just recently died. I went to his funeral, and
Mm,
I remembered that and shared that with my family, how what an impact it had on me as a young minister at 18 years old to think for the rest of my career to walk slowly through the pews.
I
Greg,
love that.
I don't know if you remember this. Almost get teary-eyed saying this, but the last time you were on our podcast, you shared that same thing,
It's the
and
best quote I can remember.
it has stuck with me in such a profound way, and I want
Yeah.
you to know that I keep that with me every Sunday, and I've told so
Mhm,
many people.
mhm.
I've quoted you. That quote has gone a long way because I may have even mentioned it on another one of our podcast episodes. So
Yeah, I
that's a
was
good
gonna mention
word.
it. If Kendall didn't, I was gonna say
Yeah.
it definitely has impacted Kendall as well. I
Yeah, it
love that so
has.
That's great.
much.
It has.
Yeah,
It
Um,
has. That's a
he's
good
in
good
word.
heaven
one.
now, but
Yes,
that's
yes.
great to hear his impact.
Mm,
It's
yeah.
incredible.
Okay, last one. One thing that you would like to communicate to our audience of church leaders.
You can do it. When I talk about intentionality, when I talk about
Mm,
welcoming, when I talk about thinking of the who, then the why, you can do it. If you sit down with your team and you pray about it and you think through it and say, hey, they're going to pull in the parking lot here and they're going to walk to this door here and just think through it.
mhm.
You can do it.
Yeah, so good.
Oh, this episode has been so encouraging to me, and also just a good reminder of why it matters to look out for these folks. At the end of the day, people who are nervous that are coming to your church for the first time, we want to make this the very best. And what a weight, what a calling, what a responsibility we have to make sure that they have a great experience, to be a representation, to roll out the red carpet, so to speak, for these folks that are coming, because ultimately you're introducing them to the family of God. You're introducing
Mm.
them to Jesus. What a beautiful calling that we have. Greg, I really appreciate your time talking with us. I know that people will want to hear more from you. Where can they follow you? What's the best way to stay connected with you these days?
Yeah, if you just search my name at Greg Atkinson, Um, you can find my website is gregatkinson.com. So anything with my name is gonna, even a Google search. A lot of times people connect with me on Google and then they can easily find my email. But my email is greg@gregatkinson.com. So anything with my name, you're gonna wind up
Perfect.
reaching me. Or the famous chef named Greg Atkinson. You'll get one of us. Uh, uh, if I start quoting recipes, that's not me. You've got the wrong
Wrong,
guy.
Greg.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, again, thank you, Greg. And we'll be sure to link up all of these things, the books and the websites and social media and all those things in our show notes. For all of our listeners out there, be sure to check out those resources. And my Amazon cart, I'm going to have to add some stuff to my Amazon cart, or maybe Audible or something this afternoon after this conversation. For all of our listeners out there, if this has encouraged you the way it has me, would you consider sharing it with a friend in ministry? Maybe you have someone on your team that just needs to hear this good reminder of why we do this, why we welcome people into church the way that we do. Share it with somebody, share with another friend in ministry, someone on your staff. And if it hasn't impacted you, would you consider leaving a review or leave a comment over on YouTube or Spotify? Let us know how this is making a difference right there as you're serving your community. We love reading those messages from you. It keeps us going, keeps us equipping leaders like you. Again, hit that follow button. We want to make sure you're subscribed wherever you're enjoying our show. Until next time, keep leading well, and we'll see you right back here next time on Church Leadership Lab.
This episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast is brought to you by Ministry Brands, the largest provider of church technology software. Over 90,000 churches rely on Ministry Brands for their single platform solution that brings together all the digital tools a church needs. From online giving to websites to church management software and more, Ministry Brands is leading the way in simple to use, innovative solutions, all with the goal of empowering healthy churches. To learn more, visit ministrybrands.com.